Welcome to another edition of the Helliepod, everybody. Hard to believe, but we are almost to the end of July, and we do have sports on television, real live sports. Once again, we were choosing from a horn of plenty this weekend, not just UFC and golf, but baseball and basketball are back. The Clippers, unfortunately, going to be without guard Lou Williams. He had to leave the bubble in Orlando to attend a funeral, and then he decided to grab a meal at the Magic City Strip Club. That got out and all kinds of trouble ensued. According to Lou, it really is his favorite restaurant in Atlanta. Oddly enough, I checked a bunch of top 10 lists, even one top 100 restaurant list in Atlanta. Did not find the Magic City Strip Club anywhere. The reigning sixth man of the year is going to be serving that 10-day quarantine, which will cause him to miss the tip-off of the restart, which begins on July 30th. So he's going to miss a few games for the Clippers. Baseball back as well. Man, that was nice to see. What was not nice to see, a rough start for my Nationals, just 1-2 bullpen issues once again. Luckily, they're not too far behind anybody because there wasn't a single team in the majors that has started 3-0. UFC wrapped up a successful stint on Fight Island in Abu Dhabi. They're going to be back in the States for UFC Vegas 5 on Saturday. Looking forward to that, as well as getting back to work. The Contender Series kicks off on August 4th. I'll be calling the first 5 of those events, so very much looking forward to that. NFL training camps going to be starting on time. Also, good news, the league and the Players Association tying up the loose ends with the COVID amendments to the collective bargaining agreement. However, instead of 90 players in training camp, there's only going to be 80. So cuts were flying all over the place. A lot of guys, a lot of teams had to cut players from their roster. So 80 instead of 90, that's 320 players who expected to be in training camp who will now not be in training camp. Before we get started, I would love to tell you about my presenting sponsor. They have been with us since day one, Vuori. And these clothes have honestly been a staple of my wardrobe for the last couple of years. It's performance apparel that is designed to work out in, but looks so damn good and feels so comfortable, you're going to wear it all day long. They have everything: shorts, pants, joggers, T-shirts, long sleeve shirts, hoodies, jackets, board shorts. They really have it all. The gear's versatile. I can wear it in hot yoga, pick up hoops, or even ride the Peloton with this stuff. I wear it for everything, and it's perfect for traveling when we can do that again, or just lounging around the crib. All of my friends that have tried it have absolutely loved it, especially their shorts. The men's short, the core short, try it out, has a built-in liner already. If that's not for you, you can go with the bank shorts. My wife absolutely loves their joggers. Visit VuoriClothing.com/Helliepod. That's Vuori, VUORI, clothing.com/Helliepod to get 20% off your first purchase today. I promise you, you're going to love it. It's athleisure apparel with an edge. It's good stuff. All right, now to this week's edition of the Helliepod. It is Jake Plummer, 10-year NFL quarterback, made a Pro Bowl, played at Arizona State, and then with the Cardinals, and then with the Broncos, of course. He made all kinds of headlines when he retired at just 32 years of age. I talked to Jake from his home in Idaho, and we got into all of it. Kind of like a Where Are They Now Helliepod. This was awesome to catch up with Jake Plummer. He gave us the inside scoop on why he decided to retire. He talked about his new passion, which is handball, and his new company, a digital playbook company that he calls the Rosetta Stone for learning football playbooks. Jake Plummer, Jake the Snake, our guest on this week's edition of the Helliepod presented by Vuori. It is my pleasure to be joined by a guy who is basically the same age as me. Jake Plummer, what are you now, 44, 45?
45, man, halfway to 90.
There you go. That's all I want to do, Jake. I told Warren Sapp that a couple of weeks ago, just get me to 90, and I'm 45 right now. It's a great life. Get me to 90. We're good, right?
I figure, halfway what I've done already, what you've done already, we got another half of our lives to keep doing more good stuff and living, man. So, yeah, 90. So long as I can have my mental capacities. If I'm in a wheelchair, then that's fine. It's just as long as I can think clearly. So doing everything I can to make sure that by 90 I'm still thinking clearly. That's what I'm more concerned about.
I'm right there with you, man. And all of our friends who are listening can't see it, but if you're watching on YouTube, you can see those big pine trees in the background. Jake is at his cabin in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And this is a little bit like, for me anyway, Jake, like a Where Are They Now Sports Illustrated issue. Because
Nice.
the last I heard and read about Jake Plummer, obviously, was that he retired early and became a world-class handball player in Idaho. Are you still playing handball?
I would play every day if I could. But man, from playing ball, sometimes your body doesn't allow you to do some things that you really want to do. So I do it when I can. And then, when I have the little ailment, I got to take some time off, get that fixed, and then come back to it. So it's a sport and a game that I played all my life. I truly believe it enhanced all my skill sets for every sport I played. And it's a fun life sport game. I can play when I was, 30 and retired. I was playing with guys that were 75 years old. So not many sports you can get in a game, in a match with a 75-year-old and have fun. And that's what handball provides. So it's a fun game. Like I said, though, it's pretty rough. It's rough on the body, the hands, the back, and all that. But if I'm in good shape and doing my yoga and stretching and all that, then I can go out and I can still rip it a little bit. You say world class. I don't think I was very worldly as far as that was, but I had some class on the court at least. But, basically just it was a fun way to transition out of the game. It was something that gave me that camaraderie, the chance to go hang with the guys, play some handball, drink a beer or two, and stay competitive, which is a key. It's definitely a passion of mine to play handball and to teach kids how to play. So, yeah, I did retire and jump into the handball court pretty quickly.
I have a new sport for you, Jake, that I picked up in the last few months. I've been playing it here in Manhattan Beach with some buddies, including a former Arizona State guy, my friend Brian Furring, who is a
Okay.
huge fan of yours. Pickleball.
Yeah, man.
Pickleball is unbelievable. Have you played it?
I have. It's funny. Last winter, I was kind of stoved up. Wasn't doing a whole lot active wise. Was nursing like a low back, thinking, "Oh man, my back." But being an old grumpy, beat up football player, and I started playing pickleball. And then I'm looking, and there's these old ladies that can hardly looks like they're shuffling around, and they're whooping my ass on the pickleball court. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm only 44 at the time. I better get up my game. So started playing a little pickleball. It's a great sport. People laugh and think, "What? You're crazy," and I love it. It's again another sport that you can go play against a 75-year-old and have a fun competitive time. And for me, that's what I really like are life sports that include all ages. But not good for you, man. We have to meet you down in Manhattan Beach, play some pickleball, man. I'm sure there's some nice outdoor courts down there.
Oh, they're amazing. Yeah, that's what the former Sun Devil Brian said. He goes, "You got to get the snake down here to play
Yeah.
pickleball with us."
I'm actually close to the epicenter. Hayden, Idaho, and Post Falls area is like the #1 player in the world lives up here. And there's 15 outdoor pickleballs all over the place, pickleball courts all over out here. It's become a real hot spot here in North Idaho. The pickleball is huge. So, yeah, man, I'm glad you mentioned that. It reminds me to get my racket and my pickleballs back out and go play some ball.
There's our pickleball infomercial at the beginning of the Helliepod. I love it, and they do call it the fastest growing sport in America, and it is. It's one of those. It can be a beer drinking sport. It's great when you play doubles. Absolutely love pickleball. Jake, let's dive into to your career here a little bit because like I said, we are the same age, so I remember most of this vividly, but a lot of it when I was doing some research surprised me a little bit. For instance, when you came out as a second-round draft pick of the Cardinals in that 1997 draft, that was a draft that had a couple of Hall of Famers in it. Orlando Pace was the #1 overall pick. Tony Gonzalez was 13 overall. Both of those guys, Hall of Famers. You were the second quarterback selected that year behind Jim Druckenmiller. Yeah. And the next quarterbacks weren't selected until the 4th round. Danny Werfel and Pat Barnes out of Cal. That's a weird year. We're used to seeing 3 to 4, 5, sometimes even more quarterbacks go in the first round, especially in the first 2 rounds. What do you remember about that 1997 draft?
Oh man, that was a wild time. After that season we had at ASU, it was a remarkable season. We made a run to almost win a national title and come up just mere seconds away from winning a national title, being pretty much unanimous undefeated team. But Ohio State had other plans. We didn't quite pull it out in the Rose Bowl. But, it was a great season. What was sad was a lot of my buddies that I played with never played ball after that. But I knew afterwards that I was going to go on and play more ball. So it was as it was upsetting to lose that, it was still exciting to prepare now for the draft, which was a whole different time for me. I never really I had a dream and a goal and an ambition to be in the NFL. I never really thought about it as my main motivation. My main motivation was to win the national title at ASU, take care of everything I could at Arizona State, and then let everything else fall into place afterwards. Once that season was over and I could focus in on the NFL, that was fun to kind of start training to be pursued by Lee Steinberg, the super agent. I'm like, man, if he's coming after me, I must have done something right. And so signing with him and then just getting to be like going to the Phoenix Open and pulling up and they're like, yeah, Mr. Plummer, right this way. And they give me a brand new set of clubs. And all of a sudden I'm not an amateur athlete and they're giving me all this free stuff when I'm going to sign a contract and have money and they want to give me all this free stuff. So it was a really wild experience. When the draft came around, it was a relief to just finally know what was going to happen for me. I was actually asleep in my hotel room. We had a room I think it was at the Biltmore my agent had, and I'd been up, having a good time with my family the nights before and played some golf that morning. And I was hoping to go to a couple teams early, but as a 6'2", 195-pounder, I was too small. I wasn't big enough. I wasn't, strong enough arm or didn't have the body type, even though I started from the get-go as a freshman and started, I don't know how many, 40 games in a row, and really never had any serious injuries, never missed a game. They still didn't think I was durable enough. So you know how that NFL machine goes. And for some reason, the Niners, outside of Steve Young, when he was getting done, or towards the tail end of his career, they drafted a player who really didn't fit their system, Jim Druckenmiller, because he was a 6'4", 230-pound prototypical quarterback. So I was a little in that – I got drafted in that time when it wasn't all right to draft guys like that. Jeff Garcia was another guy who could play ball but just wasn't big. And, so now I think the game shifted. The GMs and, scouts and coaches are accepting athletes. Kyler Murray, he's only, 5'10"?
Right,
maybe
5'9",
5'9".
Yeah,
but he's a leader and he's a competitor. And so, coming out when I did, I was a second rounder, which was all right. And I fell to the Arizona Cardinals, which was actually at the first I was a little bit like, man, I wanted to go somewhere new, maybe to a bigger city, experience a different setting. But when it came down to it, it was really easy transition going from ASU then now to the Cardinals. I didn't have to get up and move. I had a big support staff already there. I had all my friends from college and support there. So it was an easier transition. And, I was happy. It was good. It was fun to go to an organization that hadn't done a whole lot. And so for me, that's why I went to ASU. I wanted to change the culture there and do something special, and I did. And so now when the Cardinals drafted me, it was like, all right, I get another chance to go play for an organization that hasn't won a lot, hasn't done much in the last 15, 20, 30, 40 years at all. And it was exciting to try to go in there and put my stamp down on an organization and try to become a winner. And sure enough, 98, we had a hell of a season and made it to the playoffs and beat the Cowboys down in Dallas for the first playoff victory in 50 years for that organization, which, when you think about that, I won the Super Bowl, but I didn't get a ring. It was like winning the Super Bowl for them, but no ring involved. But it was exciting getting drafted. My dream now is almost a reality. And it was a hell of a good time for a young kid out of Idaho.
So you don't go in the first round, you fall to the second round. Everybody who's a sports fan around the country saw you play and appreciated your game when you were at Arizona State. But you bring up a good point. You were a smaller quarterback. You would have been a great fit, by the way, in that 49ers offense. But
yeah.
you were at home, and you go to your first training camp there in Flagstaff. You're home away from home, rather, in Arizona. And what Flagstaff, I've made that drive before. What is it, about 2 hours from the Phoenix, Scottsdale area?
Yeah, a little bit, over an hour and a half, maybe close to 2 hours, yeah.
Okay, so you get up there. It's your rookie year. You're already, big name in Arizona. What was that like kind of fitting into that quarterback room, and Vince Tobin was the head coach at the time. Were there trials and tribulations, or was it pretty smooth from the jump?
Of course, there was always, being a rookie. And back then, there was hazing and there were things that the vets did to the rookies and they could get away with it. And it hadn't quite changed yet, that culture of, hey, you're a rookie and I'm going to, do everything to make your life miserable. They still kind of messed with you, but I had a little bit of I had it a little easier being a quarterback. And Larry Sinners was a guy on that team that really rallied hard for the Cardinals to draft me. From his time watching me play at Arizona State, being a Cardinal himself, he really wanted me to come for them to draft me. And when they did, he kind of took me under his wing, and I don't mean like help me out, but he was always there if someone was, he just was there for me, along with, Frank Sanders, Rob Moore, a lot of great vets that really they bought into who I was. They liked that I was just a scrappy competitor, that what you see is what you get with me. I wasn't big and flashy. I didn't come in a big, nice car. I just was myself. And so coming to the Cardinals was fun. And I didn't realize I'd start that rookie year, but, Kent Graham was really helpful as an older veteran that knew a lot about the game. He helped me learn a lot that I thought I knew coming out of college, but I really didn't know much about defenses and blitzes and they're coming over here. Well, they could show a blitz on the right, but then blitz on the left. So it was a whole new, learning process for me. And I bought in and learned as much as I could. And so when I first got a chance to play, I was ready. Didn't know mentally, wasn't really ready mentally, but I was ready, to go out there emotionally, to lead these guys and give them the spark they needed. And it was exciting. Camp in Flagstaff was fun. It was a pain because that elevation and everything, but I had the vets on my side a little bit. They liked, they liked what I brought to the table, kind of a confidence and a little bit of a scrappy personality. And they knew that the team mattered to me. Not just myself wasn't the only person that I cared about, but the whole team. And so as a rookie, it's hard to fit in sometimes, but they were pretty nice to me.
So that rookie year, you guys go 4-12 under Vince Tobin. And then that second year rolls around, and you guys were the cardiac cards, right? Yeah. You had a new offensive coordinator, I believe, that year in Mark Trestman. 8 of your 16 games, that's half the games, were decided by 3 points or less, and you guys won 7 of those, finishing 9-7. And the game you alluded to earlier was that wild card game against Dallas, and you had lost to the Cowboys already twice during the regular season, right? This is when the Cardinals were back in the NFC East. Yep. And you guys are going into Dallas. You got to play the Cowboys. And the cardiac cards, you stepped on their throat from the opening kickoff. You guys went up 20-0. What do you remember most about that game?
Oh, just being down in Dallas. Of course, that they were dominant. They'd won a couple Super Bowls, I think, with Aikman and Irvin. I mean, they were just a dynasty, really. So, we had fought through that first year. And then, of course, my second year as a Cardinal, I remember it shifting in the game against Dallas at home where we almost came back and beat them, but we didn't. But I felt like the fans that were all wearing Cowboys gear in the stadium in Arizona, that was the hard part playing there. Is a lot of people would root for the other team coming to town, and we're like, where are our fans? But they started to buy in once we showed that competitive fire and like we weren't going to give up and quit like other teams had in the past. So, you mentioned that those close games, like the last 3 games we won in fine style, like come from behind victories with very little time left. I mean, even to clinch the playoff victory, we kicked a field goal as time expired. So what a wild, exciting, crazy season. And then to go into it and now go down to Dallas and to beat them down there, it was really huge. And I think for that organization at the time, a vote was being talked about to keep the Cardinals there, to build a stadium. So we definitely did it in the right moment for that organization. We came together as a team. We believed in each other. We never gave up. There were a lot of fighters and scrappers on that team, like Lomas Brown, Jameer Miller, Ronnie McKinnon, Kwame Lassiter, Aeneas Williams, and we had some amazing football players on that team. And that really, I think it helped save the Cardinals from being shipped to LA when we finished that season out and then continued on in the playoffs. That vote passed. And I remember, beating the Cowboys was kind of surreal at the time because it's Troy Aikman. I mean, I watched him growing up. I watched him at ASU to learn how to take a proper drop and to try to learn his style and his mechanics, because he had some of the most pure quarterback mechanics I've ever seen. So now to be on that same field with him and to beat them was amazing. Then to go on and play Minnesota down there, which was insane. We lost that game, but I'm on the field with Randall Cunningham, my favorite QB as a kid growing up to watch play, and now I'm on the field with him. So for me, I was a little like, whoa, my God, I'm here. This is it. And I thought, like most people say, my second year, we make the playoffs, we win a game, we lose. Oh, this is going to happen every year. And then, it didn't. It didn't happen. Things changed. The team changed. Some players left. Some moves were made that definitely didn't allow us to continue that. But 98 was a special year. It definitely was one of those, along with my last year at ASU, that really galvanized me and the teams that I were on in that city down in Tempe and Phoenix area. It put us into the history of that sports lore because of how we played and how we won and just the characters we had on our team.
That was the first playoff win for the Cardinals in 50 years.
Yeah.
And when you guys landed back in Arizona after that game, what did you see?
It was wild. We came flying in and they said, check it out. And we looked down and you could see lights on the tarmac. They'd opened up the tarmac for fans. There were 8,000 people down there celebrating and hooting and hollering. So when we pulled up in the plane, we got out and came out. I mean, it was amazing. The excitement, the feeling there. That town had yet to experience anything like that. It was the first time the Cardinals had been in the playoffs in 15 years. So I think that the whole time they were in the Valley, they had yet to make the playoffs, or they only had been in the playoffs maybe once. So for the fans, they were waiting for that. And when we came back and just the characters we had on that team, like I said, we were a fun team to watch. We would definitely keep you on the edge of your seat. I mean, my mom talks about that season and how, she lost some years to her life rooting for me that year because it was just so stressful to, we'd go out, and a lot of it was due to me and poor play by me maybe in the first, second, third quarter. But as a scrapper and a fighter and a believer, I never gave up. And that kind of resonated with my teammates, and they bought in, and we never, ever gave up no matter what the score was. And coming back and seeing all the fans there was amazing. Just to get up there and talk about it, to yell and have the fans react. It was really kind of a movie-like setting. And like I mentioned earlier, I didn't win a Super Bowl, which was my childhood dream, but to win a playoff game that second year, the odds that we would even win a playoff game with the Cardinals organization, it's almost like we won a Super Bowl somewhat because that organization had been so, struggled so long. I wish we could have carried it on a little more, but it definitely was a fun year. I re-signed my contract that year and now became, a multi-millionaire and was like, wow, they're going to pay me this much to play. And do they know I would play this game for free, but don't ever tell them that. So, but it was a really wild time, an exciting time as 4 years at ASU, then now 2 years into my Cardinals experience. I've become quite a figure there in the sports scene and in the scene in Arizona. And it was fun. Every kid's dream. I was living it and enjoying it and trying to just do my best to keep winning.
You were the biggest star in town. Was Barkley there with the Suns during that time?
Yeah, Barkley, you could say him and I were, and Randy Johnson was there with the Diamondbacks.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there were quite a few. And then Jeremy Roenick with the Coyotes. So there was some big timers. They're all Hall of Famers. I'm the one who failed to make the Hall of Fame, but there were some big time players there, and it was fun. Just a good time. To be in a valley that the sports scene was definitely growing, and to be part of that, to help the Cardinals. Kind of like I said, finally become a winner and buy in, have more fans buy into them and start supporting them was huge. And again, that vote passed. So that stadium that's there now was, due to that 98 season, was that team getting it done and helping that vote get passed. We stumped during the voting. We were out at the voting center saying, vote yes on 301, as players going door to door.
Oh, wow.
Please vote through. I remember on a Saturday going door to door, stumping for the Cardinals to try to get that thing passed. So it doesn't get talked about much, but us as players and as a team, that 98 season, even though we didn't go past the second round in the playoffs, that was an amazing football team that really did a lot for that organization. And we all know it. we all appreciate each other, and we don't get together much, but still, I keep in touch with some of those guys, and there were some amazing players on that team.
What I can't imagine, listen, you're 45 like I am, you have kids like I do, you're a family man now, but back then, to be a single NFL quarterback in Phoenix after playing at Arizona State, there must have been some wild stories, Jake.
There were a few, everybody has some from playing in the league, but for me, it really, I try to stay real focused, because easily you could get down and get derailed going down that path. If you were going up Scottsdale too much or going out and seeking that, you could find yourself really swimming in deep water. So, I'd already been through a little bit as a young kid at Arizona State to learn a little bit of a lesson on, hey, be careful who you're associating with and who you're around and how you handle yourself in public. And like I said, in '98, I re-signed and became, a multi-millionaire. So I realized, hey, anything you do now, people are watching, all eyes are on you. So I was real careful, and I had good guidance in that regard. And I had some good people around me that would be with me at times where, if I was at a place that was getting wild, it's all right sometimes to stay, but other times it's like, hey, let's get out of here. Let's make sure I don't end up on the front page for the wrong reason. But we had some good times. More or less the fun times for me were golfing, with Dave Brown and Scott Player and all my guys, and just Kwame Lassiter, and spending good time with those guys. And, Phoenix and Tempe was a fun place to play. But again, like I said, I try to stay focused during the year. I wasn't going out a lot except after the games. And even then it was more just spending time with teammates and family.
Right. You have that great second year. And then guys start leaving and they don't renew contracts and they get rid of a few guys. And I know that bummed you out a little bit, and you never really were able to recapture that magic as a team, right? The rest of your next 4 years there. Yeah,
it was tough. We let go. Really, the cornerstone of that team was Larry Sinners, and we let him go. And I still don't know why, but I can remember the meeting with Bob Ferguson, and he said, "Hey, we're letting go of Larry." And at that time, if I could go back right now, I would have said, well, then you're trading me too, and walked right out of there. But I didn't. I was like more of a team guy and like in line with, fall in line. You don't insubordination. You don't go against the head man and what's going to happen. You just get in line and follow it. So no offense to the guy we brought in, Joel Makovica, but Joel was not Larry Sinners. And, we let go of Jameer Miller, another just phenomenal football player, not only on the field, but just a great leader. A guy who just had the confidence, and Lomas Brown, and just a number of guys that we didn't keep around that were really cornerstones to what we had built there in those couple years that I was there. And it's hard once you do that. You bring in young guys, and it's just not the same. So it was tough because that next year, a lot of expectations were on our team. In the preseason, I had a guy hit the ball out of my right hand, hold on to my right thumb, and damn near rip it off. So instead of taking like 4 weeks off to let it heal and strengthen it up, I still played through all that because I felt the pressure that I had to be there. I had to be the guy, and I had to play early, and I had to keep it going. But in turn, I had my worst season ever. I just didn't have the velocity on the ball. I couldn't grip the ball, but I still was trying to make those throws. So 99 season was a really, really hard season. We lost a lot of games, and it just was a downer after that 98 year. And then we had a couple 3-13 years that were, oh boy, that was tough. Vince Tobin getting fired, and then Dave McGinnis, who was just a phenomenal coach, a great guy. All of us loved him dearly, a true player's coach. But then, having his hands tied and just what we couldn't pull off as an organization, it was tough. It was a hard few years there, but I kept scrapping and I kept fighting. And, in turn, that's how I've gained, and kept the respect of my teammates and others, just through continuing to try to fight through all that and to find ways to win and keep it going.
I'm glad to hear that about Coach Mack. I get the opportunity to see him every preseason. I do the games for the Tennessee Titans in the preseason, and Coach Mack does the radio call there with Mike Keith. What a great broadcast dude.
He's awesome, man.
Does he have stories or what? That dude is awesome.
He's just like that. He is like the story man, but he's like a character out of a book, man. When you see him, you can't help but feel better when you see a guy like him. And he really was a phenomenal coach. It's too bad we didn't win because I think he could have gone on and been a head coach for many, many years, but things happen for a reason, and he's found himself a nice niche. But yeah, we all loved Coach Mack. I mean, what a great guy.
So you get to the end of your 6-year stint with the Cardinals. Sounds like you had pretty much made up your mind that you were going to go somewhere else, and you end up signing with the Broncos, and you go from a couple of 3-13 seasons to making the playoffs. What, 3-4 straight years with Mike Shanahan there, and this is the end of a 10-year run in Arizona, right? 4 years at Arizona State, 6 years with the Cardinals. That transition to was like what for you?
It was pretty amazing. For me, I was ready to stay in Arizona if they were going to do the things that I had realized now after 6 years, if they were going to start doing the things to try to win.
Right.
But they actually were ready to let me go in a way. And, I'd done what I could do there, and it was time. It definitely was exciting to have a fresh start and to be pursued. I remember the last game of the year was actually in Denver, and the crowd in Denver was chanting, "We want Jake. We want Jake."
Oh, I don't remember that. That's awesome.
Yeah, they knew I was a free agent, going to be a free agent, and they knew they were going to be in the market for another quarterback. So I'm leaving that field, and it was a early January game, and it's sunny and nice there, 50 degrees. Like, wait, Denver's supposed to be cold and snowy. So when I was a free agent, I made trips to Denver and to Chicago. When I was in Chicago in March, it was sleet, rain, cold. I loved the allure of Chicago, and they had a great organization, one that I remember paying attention to when I was a kid. And it would have been a good decision to go there, but I felt like, man, I want to go to Denver. Denver seems to me like the organization that's done it more consistently, and the ability to play for Shanahan and Kubiak and play on a team like that was really the deciding factor. I had to eliminate the cities and the allure of, Chicago and the blues scene and that real awesome town to be in, because I'd never lived in a big city like that. And I had to just put it down to like playing football. How can I go there? What can I go do? Because my goal still was to win a Super Bowl. And that's when I decided to go to Denver. And man, what a great organization. One of the best sports organizations around. And I had a great time there. We almost did it. We almost made it in 05, but to get there and to have Shanahan and the opportunities they provided was really cool.
Yeah, the first 2 seasons you guys go 10-6. You lose in the wild card game to the Colts and Peyton Manning twice. And then you talk about 05. You guys were 13-3 that year, and you handed Tom Brady his first ever playoff loss and made it all the way to the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, that was a big time season. It was a chance, why I went there really. And to get there the first year in the playoffs, we got whooped. We got whooped in the playoffs by Indianapolis. And then the next year, to go through it again and again get beaten in that third year in 05, we put it all together. We had a really solid football team, a really, really good football team. In fact, we got off to a slow start against Pittsburgh. Fell behind, and that was really the problem for us. We just couldn't claw back into that. But we got close. I think back every year when it's playoff time and getting close to the Super Bowl, I'm always, yeah, damn it, we were so close. If we beat the Steelers at home, everything aligned for us. I get my chance to go, really achieve my dream, which was to win a Super Bowl. It's the only reason I went through all of this was as a kid I wanted to have a Super Bowl championship. And in 05, I actually had plans to win the Super Bowl, and then from there on the podium with the MVP trophy, say goodbye, because that's really why I came, was to win a Super Bowl. I didn't come there to win 5, 6, or 7 of them. I just came to win one, and it didn't happen. So after 09, after that 05 season, I gave it some thought, and but still was ready to come back for that last year of mine, that 10th season. But that Denver organization, they did everything possible. They did everything in the world that you could imagine, Mr. Bolin, to make the players feel comfortable and be able to focus on what we needed to focus on, which was getting prepared to go play the best ball we could. And not that the Cardinals didn't do that. They tried, but the Broncos had already achieved that and done that in the past. So it was just so nice to play for an organization that put us first always and made sure we had everything we needed so we could just go out and play ball. And when you have an owner like that, you really actually you play harder because you know, the owner, you love him, you want to be around him, and you really want him to have success. And I love playing for the Broncos. I wish I could have got there a little sooner in my career, because I think we probably would have won a couple Super Bowls.
Well, they already had that foundation laid, obviously, with John Elway and TD and
Yep.
Rod Smith and that whole crew. That I just want to rewind for a second. So that was your dream. You wanted to win the Super Bowl and then announce your retirement on stage, holding the Lombardi Trophy, and walk off into the sunset.
Well, not quite all the other stuff, but just my dream was to win a Super Bowl as a kid. That's why I was in the NFL. I wanted to get a ring, to be in a Super Bowl and be a Super Bowl champ. You know, that's at the tail end there, that season, I had some pretty serious injuries that I was nursing and working through, like a torn pubic symphysis, which I don't know if many people know what that is, but it's basically deep down in your groin where your pelvic bone is where your abs attach. And I'd torn part of those from the bone. So, you know, for the last few weeks of the season, there was a lot of pain and agony. And I was taking a lot of, not painkillers, but a lot of anti-inflammatories. And I grew up with a mother that really preached, you know, knowing what you're putting in your body. She was very holistic, very health food oriented. So I didn't want to do this for too long because I didn't want to have damage done to my body through all these pills. So I knew from the get-go I wasn't going to play this game for a long, long time. I'm 6'2", 180 pounds now. My body is not the body of a football player to play for a long, long time. So when I was close to winning that Super Bowl, we were almost there, you know, it dawned on me like this would be the perfect time to just say, thank you, I'm out. I've made a ton of money, more than I ever dreamt I would make. And there it was. That dream would have been achieved, and I could have gone on and rode off into the sunset. But it didn't quite work out that way. But it's all right. I came back for the 10th season, which was good because I felt, you know, even 10 years to be double-digit career and have a really good career, start all 10 of those years, you know, put together a really solid career and some great experiences.
Yeah, put together a remarkable career. The 10th year was interesting, though, because they drafted Cutler.
Yep.
And then you get benched. They start Cutler the last few games of the year. And then there was kind of a falling out for you, right? You're traded to the Bucs. You never play there, but you didn't talk to Shanahan for a while. Is that correct?
Yeah, you know, that was an interesting deal because I remember when the draft went down and I was thinking, you know, all right, we're going to see who we draft. Like, let's see who we pick up here because we're real close, right? We're in the AFC Championship game. And we lose that game. So as a team, we knew we had all the pieces. We just needed to add a few more. And they draft a quarterback when I felt like, man, I'm doing my job here. I'm doing everything I can. I'm the guy. And then they go get a quarterback, which I understand. You got to look out for the future. But it didn't bother me much. It just was one of those like, God, did we need to get a quarterback? What if we would have got, you know, a great, you know, running back or an amazing receiver or a phenomenal free safety or something else in that draft that would have helped our team get better and then go pursue, you know, what my 10th season, we could have gone even further. But anyway, it didn't happen. And through all of that, you know, it was hard getting benched because I'd never really been benched before. And at first I wasn't the greatest teammate, but then I bought into, all right, here I am. It's not over. I still could get a chance to play. So I got back into the flow of it and became, you know, a leader on the sidelines because Jay was young and he needed help. He wasn't quite the leader that I was. That team was still mine. My teammates and the guys still would gain motivation and inspiration from me, even though I wasn't starting. But it was kind of nice those last 5 games to like not have that stress. I could eat food again on the road. I'm drinking beers it's Saturday night.
What do you mean eat food again on the road?
Just be able to eat again because like you're nervous, right? On Saturday nights, and it was hard to eat dinner and hard to eat in the mornings, and just because your nerves are built up being QB number 1, there was just you didn't sleep well. You were constantly – I was stressed out all the time, you know, being that guy. And it was kind of nice to, as I'm talking here, to sit back and kind of reflect on my career because I knew now, like, I'm done now. If I'm getting benched at the end of my career when I'm giving it my all, this game is not for me anymore. I need to go. So I knew that at the end of this year, I started contemplating retirement already. I already thought about it the year before. Now that I've been benched, I was like, hey, this is time to go. I'm on anti-inflams. Like getting up out of a car ride for 40 minutes. I'm limping and I'm only 30. It's like, okay, this is time for me to really think about possibly retiring and saving my knees, my back, my neck, and my body from being just a mess. So those last games gave me a chance to reflect, to really enjoy the process, to smell the stadiums and get there early and not have that stress of QB number one, but to be able to still be part of it. So it was hard, but then again, it's what happens. Whatever happens is meant to happen. And, Jay was their guy now, and he went on and showed, that he was a pretty good player, but wasn't quite the leader that I was. And I was okay, with Shanahan. We had a falling out. It wasn't so much that we hated each other or got mad at each other. It was just things he told me that I should do, I did. And then in the long run, he came back and used me as an example for not to do those kind of things. So there was a few just miscommunications, I guess you could say, between me and him. But we buried the hatchet a few years back. I called him up. We had lunch. I apologized for a few things I said about his coaching style and leadership qualities, and then told him, without his tutelage and schooling and the ability to put me in position to succeed, those 4 years I spent in Denver really gave the NFL a chance to see, like, I could play ball. I was a good quarterback, one of the best in the game. And he really brought that out with his mad scientific ways of putting an offense in position to succeed. So I told him, I thanked him for everything, and told him, I wouldn't, to go back, I might have done a few things differently, but the way it is the way it is. And we gave each other hugs, and we still are in communication now. So, it didn't end the right way, but now we're all good. Everything's moved on from that time.
I got to know Mike a little bit when I covered the Redskins and did his coach's show one season. And I like Mike, but I've heard the similar stories from other veteran players when they get to the end of their careers with Mike. What was that like when you had lunch and got to kind of air your grievances? Was it painful? Was it therapeutic? How did you feel?
It was real therapeutic. For me, when I retired, into my 10th season going into that year, Mike was wanting me to start reading the defensive line alignment and see if the guy was in a 3 or a 3-eye. And then if that was the case, I'd be able to go now to the safety and know, even if he was 30 yards off the ball, that he was coming down on the ball. What Mike didn't realize is it was extremely difficult for me just to remember the formation, the protection, the play call, the progression, and then if there were any adjustments to that. Now he wants me to read the D lineman and then change things. Like, it just was too much for my brain. I didn't have the high level Peyton Manning brain. I call it the Peyton Manning effect, because he'd kicked our ass twice in the playoffs just by changing plays on the field himself. And I think Mike wanted that from me. But in the tail end of my career, it was a really hard thing for me to now start to try to do when I'd done just fine till now. Now he wanted a totally different player to come out of me, and it was just too much. I was more read and react than, predict and go after these guys, which is the way I played. So that was hard. And I think that through that all, through the off-season conditioning and some things that he told me, hey, go do what you're doing, man. I was spending a lot of time up here in Coeur d'Alene, and I came back and was ripping the ball, feeling really good, getting ready to go into my 10th season. I'd met an amazing woman and was spending time with her, and just in a good space mentally and physically. And, things were good. And then all of a sudden to be used as an example after he told me to do some things, it was hard. So that's where the first little bit of turmoil started. And then through the season, Kubiak was gone. Kubes was my guy who would take all those last minute modifications to the game plan, or the new red zone play that's going in on Friday night or Saturday morning. It's like, we haven't had a time to rep this. But that was Mike. He was constantly evolving his offense, and he was a mad scientist that wanted to find the play that was going to make the difference. And for me, that was tough. So my 10th year was hard. We did butt heads quite a bit, but burying that hatchet felt really good. To tell him, thank you for everything he did, to apologize for saying some things I said about his coaching style, which is, because that last year he kind of took me and made me fit into a box of his. When I was a real expanded player, he tried to put me back into this little box of being a Peyton Manning type player. Stay in the pocket, make the checks, go through your progressions, throw the ball away if it's not there. That was never my style. So, there's nothing, grudges are no good to hold on to. I think he felt better about it. also knowing that I didn't hate him. There was no reason for me to hate a coach that did so much for my career, and put me in position to really, like I said, I felt like for 4 years there to be one of the best players in the NFL at the quarterback position. And when you say that, you're saying you're one of the best in the entire world. So he gave me that opportunity and put the pieces into place. And, I had no hard feelings.
Let's take a quick break now so we can tell you about some of our new sponsors. And we start with Greens Plus, a health food leader since 1989, known for creating the first ever blended green superfood powder and the first company to infuse green superfoods into a bar. Greens Plus bars and powders, incredibly tasty. Man, I love these things. They're the most effective way to improve your immunity, detox your body, boost your energy, and get the nutritional insurance that your body deserves. It's all organic, gluten-free, soy-free. It's a premium green superfood that I want you to try right now. You can go get it at Whole Foods or on Amazon. Or if you want to save some money, go to greensplus.com. You get free shipping and 20% off using the promo code HELLIE. That's 20% off from greensplus.com using the promo code HELLIE. I love the chocolate protein bars and the wild berry superfood powder. Two new sponsors to tell you about. Vaco. At Vaco, the motto is we invest in your career, so you are here for the duration of ours. I have known the founders of this company since my days in college. Vaco is a premier talent and solutions firm that provides boutique-level service with global reach in the areas of consulting, consultative project resources, executive search, permanent placement, and strategic staffing. You need somebody to fill a C-suite level position? Vaco has you covered. Their areas of expertise are aplenty: accounting, finance, technology, healthcare IT, operations, administration, or international managed services. Since it was founded in 2002 by my good buddy Brian Waller, Vaco has grown to serve over 40 markets across the globe, 1,000 employees, 5,000 consultants, and $750 million in revenue. At Vaco, they do it right. Check them out, vaco.com, VACO.com, for more information on how Vaco connects people to their dream jobs and helps leading companies find talent to grow their business. So I started taking this product a couple of weeks ago called True Niagen to invest in my long-term health, and I think you should too. A new trend in the scientific community surrounds the health of our cells. This is something that affects all of us, from pro athletes to the weekend warriors. We have something in our cells called NAD, which supports our energy and our body's ability to repair itself all the way down to the cellular level. Well, it turns out that NAD declines as we age. It also declines when we overexercise, don't sleep enough, and even when we're exposed to a virus. There's only one NAD booster that is backed by Nobel Prize-winning scientists, 10 published human studies, and regulatory approvals for safety, and that is True Niagen. Additionally, True Niagen is NSF certified for all sports. Visit TrueNiagen.com to learn more. That's TrueNiagen.com, TrueNiagen.com to learn more. Were you ever going to play for the Bucs? Did that cross your mind for 1 second?
Not 1 second. I was done. And, when I told him on the phone, he didn't believe it. And so he traded my rights.
Who are you talking to, Bruce Allen?
Mike Shanahan.
Oh, Mike,
I told
okay.
Mike, I'm retiring. I'm done. I don't want to play anymore. He still traded me. But that's the business side of the NFL. That was a business move. Mike knew that he could get a draft pick out of me, and the Buccaneers knew that if I came, great, they might have their quarterback. But if I didn't, they could go after the signing bonus that I was due, that Bolin wasn't going to collect on, that was part of my contract. But either they got me and gave up a 6th-round pick, and if I didn't show up, they got $3 million. So for them, it was a business move strictly, with the opportunity to maybe get me as their quarterback. And Gruden wanted me. I mean, it would have been a fun situation because Gruden, great coach, great offensive mind. But at that point, I was done. Like I said, I'd met somebody I wanted to, explore spending the rest of my life with. So we started traveling, me and now my wife and mother of my kids. And I had other things in mind that I wanted to do, mainly just to be free of the stress involved and to go play handball and to go, enjoy the world, travel and be with my family.
So interesting situation. I want to get to all that in just a second, but the contract stuff fascinates me. You had a signing bonus that you had already been paid that Bolin was going to let you keep. But once you got traded, did you have to cut a check to the Buccaneers for the portion of that signing bonus that you owed to them?
Yeah, that was the tail end of it. I had to give back some of the bonus, which I was fine, man. They paid me plenty of money to play ball, so for me it was like, hey, all right, you guys want to take this back? That's fine. Go ahead. Mr. Bolin said, just go down there, just go down and go through the motions. And I told him, you know me better than that. I can't go down there and go through the motions. If I go down there and put a helmet on, I'm going to go win that job and take that team to a Super Bowl. That's how I work. So for me, it was just, I was done mentally,
right,
physically. I was tired of the media, how they just continued to portray, whatever image they wanted, they could write about. There was no checks and balances there. No research done on true heart and soul of that team that I was on with the Broncos. Just some guy writing some article, to make himself feel better. So all of it combined was enough for me to be ready to go. Plus, my body was pretty beat up. I'd played 10 straight years and 4 straight years prior to that. So 14 straight years of high-level football. My body was done. Mentally, I was done. And I didn't walk away from the game early. I played 10 years, and people forget that I did. I played 10 years, but some of those were lost, with the Cardinals. There was a few years there that were really taxing. It took a toll on my body and my spirit, and for the game then with all those, those 3 and 13 years were tough. But after 10, I was ready to go. So the Bucs, they made a money grab. They thought they could get me, but in turn they didn't. And Gruden, we don't have any hard feelings either. I've talked to him since. He wanted me bad, and it's nice to retire and be wanted rather than, a lot of my buddies that retire, they're kicked out of the league. And that leaves a bitter taste in your mouth. So for me, the bitter taste was less about the NFL kicking me out. It was more about how things went down with Mike and that whole process. But in the long run, I've worked through all that, and I've been very, proud and feel good about how I played and approached my career and pretty much retired early. A lot of people now see like, wow, you were smart to do that. And, for me, I was trusting what I felt inside, and that's really what I went with.
Yeah, it's interesting when you say 10 years, it is easy to forget that you played a decade in the NFL because you retired at 31, and quarterbacks just don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Brady's an anomaly, but you have all these guys, Breeze and Rodgers and Rivers who are playing into their late 30s and early 40s now. When I was watching a few things on you doing research for this interview, I stumbled across an interview you did with Dan Patrick a few years ago, and he was kind of grilling you about a comeback at 41. Was that something that you ever contemplated? Because, I work with Kurt Warner, who, played with the Cardinals. And I swear Kurt still believes he could come back to this day and at least be effective for a game. And who knows, I wouldn't doubt him.
There were a few moments that I thought about it. It's funny though. And when I considered that, and because Kubiak, Gary was one of my favorite coaches. When he was coaching in Houston, if I could have gone to Houston, not Tampa Bay, I would have considered maybe playing another year. Although, I got married in August after that 10th year. So, I had plans to go do something else besides football. But if I were to come back and do what I always felt was kind of silly, these guys retired and then they'd unretire, it would have been probably only for Gary Kubiak to go play for him. There was a moment or two where I started thinking about it and contemplated it, and then what happened in that process of me mentally, what kind of person I became, it just didn't jive well with me. I was like all of a sudden just a different person. People don't realize, football players, especially playing quarterback position where all eyes are on you, it's whether it's your ego or your personality, you encapsulate and become somebody that you have to be that guy, when deep down you may be a completely different person when you're at home or with your family or outside of the scene and the eyeballs of everybody watching you. So, I was Jake the Snake on the field, but at home I was Jason Plummer. I was just the guy a normal guy, a good guy, a down-to-earth person. And so for me, that to think about coming back put me into like this weird, like, oh my God, look what I gotta commit to this. And I started to think about it, and my wife was like, have you been thinking about playing ball or something? Because you're acting real crazy lately. And I was like, yeah, I kind of have been thinking about it. She said, oh my God, you're just a totally different person. And so at that point I knew, scrap all those plans, stop thinking about ball. If I want to do anything with ball, it's got to be talking about it or helping kids, coach kids, giving them some of the knowledge I have. And then it was easier to buy in and be, okay with everything I did on the field. And that brand of the NFL will precede us wherever we go. So use that to your advantage and use it to do good. And that's kind of what I've been trying to do. Although, even now I'm at 45, as you well know, you reevaluate your life and where you're at and go, God, I got to get busy doing something again, because we're destined for greatness. If you play in the NFL and you do these kind of things and achieve the things that we achieved or that I achieved to play ball, really anything you set your mind to is possible. So that's the challenge now I face, is to find what that next thing is and get after it.
So when you retired, how long did you take just to decompress? So you retired 31, you get married right before you retire. Is it Colette? Am I saying her name right?
Yep.
Who was a former Broncos cheerleader. You were excited about that next segment of your life. And you go back to Idaho, right? Northern Idaho, Coeur d'Alene area.
Yep. Up in Sandpoint on 48 acres.
Oh,
there was nobody around.
and so you're doing what? And how long did you do that? Before you answer that, I got to ask you one real quick thing. I saw that you hiked the Sawtooth for like a week without a map, which is a huge mountain range that runs through Idaho. Is that true?
Not a week without a map. I mean, I was in there with my family, my brothers. We grew up in the Sawtooth, so it was a way to get away and to get up into the woods and be free. And so I haven't gone in a few years, but it's something that a lot of my family still does. The Sawtooths are beautiful. Just to get up of those high mountain lakes and go out on hikes where you don't know where you're going. You just kind of take off and then find your way back. And there's amethyst crystals up there, and it's just a really spiritual place, a place to go kind of decompose and decompress. Not decompose, but decompress. And I used to go in the off season. I'd go, and even came back a few times after falling and scratching myself up, and my coaches were just going, "Oh my God," because they don't want you to play basketball anymore now if you're an NFL football player, right? Or even in college, like, oh, don't do anything you did to get yourself to this point. Let's stunt your athletic ability and only work on football drills. So for me, I never bought into that. Part of getting ready for the season was to not train hard the week prior to camp, but was to more or less remove myself from football and go be in the mountains and be free, or come up here to Coeur d'Alene and go swimming and boating. And one year I was wakeboarding so much that I came into camp and I had the tightest IT band I've ever had in my right leg, and I had to get treatment from the get. And the trainers are like, "What's going on with you? Why's your leg hurt?" And I'm like, "I don't know. It's just been bugging me." But I'd been wakeboarding like mad leading up to the season because, for me, it was a way to free my mind of the stressful, crazy expectations that were heaped onto me in this now like 16-week season that was upon us. I had to release. I had to have that moment of release where I could just be free of all thought of football, and that's what the Sawtooths, really provided. So, and back to your other question about what I would do. I mean, I did whatever I wanted. I was paid more money than I ever expected. I retired. I'd gotten married to, my sweet wife now that, Mr. Boland gave me permission to date.
How did that work out? Because you guys aren't supposed to date cheerleaders.
Yeah, she asked me to dance one night downtown Denver, and we started hanging out a little bit. And before we moved much further, I asked Mr. Boland if it'd be okay for me to date another employee, and I just wanted him to know that it wasn't just a fling. It was someone I really enjoyed being around, an amazing woman, and he gave me the permission. So, I have Mr. Boland to thank for, what I've created now, and the lady I've married, who's an amazing woman, and been able to continue to grow and become the man I am. So, yeah, Mr. Boland was a big part of that. Jason Elam married a cheerleader, and he told me, way back, hey, I went and talked to Mr. Boland, make sure that it's right out there in the open, so there's nothing comes back on this. And it was good. Mr. Boland gave me a lot of great advice, throughout my post-career even, and it was sad to see him deteriorate and go. A true legend of the game. I mean, one of the best, not the best owner ever, I think, in sports. So great guy. And so even, that year in 2005 when I made the Pro Bowl, I didn't go to the Pro Bowl. And people like, why didn't you go to the Pro Bowl? Well, the Broncos coaching staff was coaching the AFC team, so I'd seen their faces plenty and was ready to, no way. Plus, I had that really bad injury in my groin. I would not have even been able to play. And at that moment in my life, I'd fallen in love and was falling more in love with my girlfriend at the time. We were in Costa Rica during the Pro Bowl. We went on vacation. We went on some trips. So when I got done playing ball, I started traveling. We traveled to a lot of destinations I'd always wanted to go. I found an awesome person to travel with that I loved and had fun with. So you asked me what I did when I retired. I did whatever the hell I wanted to, whenever I wanted to, and lived on 48 acres, played a ton of handball, just had fun, skied without worrying about anything, and went out, on mountain biking, and just enjoyed life without the stress involved of being QB number one, and all the things that go along with playing ball. It was an enjoyable time. It was a lot of fun.
When I grow up, I want to be like Jake Plummer, man. I just bought a mountain bike. I love doing that. I love skiing with my wife, traveling the world. I mean, Coeur d'Alene's a beautiful place. Where did you enjoy, or what surprised you the most in terms of places you visited?
Oh man, there was a lot. We went to the Caribbean quite a bit, which was fun. A place like St. Lucia was unbelievable. Just seeing the people there, being on an island where you're just out in the middle of the ocean, and you can go out and find food and get fresh seafood and experience a real culture of people that they're on an island. So they're all about culture and tradition. And then traveling through Europe was a blast. A place I know if I need to go hide out or get away, somewhere in the Bavarian Alps, that's where I'll be. If I have to get away, if I've done something wrong or people are chasing me, I'm out. I'm going to Germany or somewhere in Europe and just disappearing because there's so much beauty out there. And so it was a lot of fun. Prague was a city that, if I could go back to, and, as a kid coming out of high school, going straight to college, and then having a job right away out of college in the NFL. If I ever was not in that position, if I was to go back and graduate from college with no idea what I was going to do next, I'd go live in Prague. That was an amazing city, so beautiful. The artists on the bridge, the layout of the town, just the feeling of being in Europe and everything was a lot of fun. And to have someone to travel with was really a blast. Me and my wife had a good time doing that before we had kids. Now we got 3 kids, a 10, an almost 7-year-old, and then a 3-year-old. So they take up a lot of our time now. But as you know, man, you got to keep evolving as an adult and learning and growing. And that's what we're in challenge to be faced with daily now. And it's a good challenge.
Boys and girls?
2 boys and a little girl.
Oh, you got a while. So my daughter just turned 14. So I'm dealing with all the dating and all that stuff. My head is about to explode on a daily basis trying to process this, Jake.
Yeah, I'm just working on what's the next snack, man. So I'm all right with that. I'll wait till she's 14. Don't need that anytime soon.
You got plenty of time, man. But you're keeping busy. You were involved with a CBD company a few years ago. I don't know if you're still doing that. And you've been doing some TV stuff in Denver. Talking about the Broncos the last couple of years. Is that all still going on?
Yeah, I kind of backed off from that a little bit. Sometimes those things get redundant when you're just talking ball and week to week. Something Mark Trestman taught me early on when struggling in '99. He said, "Listen, these articles have been written for years and years and years. There's no difference. All they do is change the score, the names, and the date and where it was played, but the article's still the same." So, it was that was one part of it that was kind of strange, but. I lost track of where we were going there.
We're talking about being an analyst, doing the TV work in Denver.
Oh, yeah. So I did some TV, some radio, worked for the Pac-12. That was all a lot of fun, but the family grew to 3, and I felt was needed at home more. So I backed off from doing some of that. The CW was great. The Charlotte's Web hemp oil was a lot of fun to bring that to former players that really needed it. A lot of guys benefited greatly from taking hemp oils, and not only hemp oils, but just medicinal marijuana and hemp together, finding a better way to alleviate pain, to alleviate anxiety, depression, to sleep better. I was able to help a lot of former players improve their lives and also give them something to get into, because after you're done playing, it's finding that next thing. It's finding what you're passionate about, what can you get into? That was something that was a lot of fun to do. But along that time, I got involved with a friend of mine, developed a digital playbook called Ready List Sports. And so I became a founder in that, invested in that. And so I've been involved with that for the last 5 years, therefore stepping away from doing a lot of the advocacy for hemp and for, a better way of living and alternative medicines and medicinals, things that people didn't understand. They felt that there was a stigma around hemp and marijuana and all of that. So I kind of backed off to focus on what was important for my boss and CEO, Chad Freehoff, was our company. I put that number one, tried to help build that out. And we're building, we're growing, we're gaining clients. It's just a tough process to get coaches to change the way they do things, but more coaches are seeing what we've developed and they're getting excited about it. I didn't realize, being an entrepreneur in the tech space, what it would entail. It takes a lot longer than I thought to grow something. You just have to be patient. So for me, it's continuing to work down that road, and then also getting involved in some other other alternative forms of medicine. One of them being not psilocybin mushrooms necessarily, but just mushroom tinctures in general, and the healing powers that are involved in mushrooms, and also the healing powers that are involved in psilocybin, a hallucinogenic, mushroom, that compound that can help a lot of people with a lot of different ailments. Some of them, what football players go through: PTSD, anxiety, depression, so for me, it's been fun to be exposed in Colorado to some free-thinking people that want to find better ways to treat these ailments rather than just send people down the pharmaceutical road where here's a pill, then you need another pill, then that pill loses its efficacy, so here's another pill. Meanwhile, you can't take a dump. You have sore bones and bodies. You're miserable inside, but you're being told you should be healthy, and you're wondering why you're not. So for me, it's another opportunity down the road here as I'm trying to find that next thing, to get involved with helping people find a better way to approach their health and wellness, to live a little bit healthier and cleaner lives, and to keep evolving as humans. So for me, that position and of being able to be on TV, to still be relevant after being retired for a while, that's a big thing. But to have a voice and to advocate for living a healthier lifestyle is something I'm going to continue to do, and it's fun to be involved in.
Well, I love it. Sounds like a pretty diverse playing career. I've read a lot of articles about the shrooms and hallucinogenics. In Colorado, are they legal now for medical use?
They're still trying to just get them off of that class 1, schedule 1, list, so that then they can be researched. Until that happens, it's hard. But Johns Hopkins is doing some research, to be involved with the hemp movement and the CBD. We broke down a lot of barriers. I can recall doing a ton of interviews like this where the first thing they'd say is, yeah, we're here with pothead Jake the Snake Plummer. And I'm like, guys, I'm not a pothead. Because that term, as we're realizing even in today's world with Black Lives Matter and just terms and how you use them, even though it's a word that everybody uses, it has a connotation that can speak volumes.
What's interesting, Jake, is that CBD and marijuana has always had this, historically, this negative stigma, as you alluded to, and living in California now, where it's everywhere. Heck, all you have to do is go on, social media, and you see all these former players that are endorsing the benefits of CBD. So I don't think there's really any doubting that anymore. And yeah, that
No.
Dan Patrick interview I alluded to was, I think it was in 2017. So it's amazing to see how far we've come just in the last 3 years in terms of how that's seen. So
big time.
You've been involved in that. And then it was funny. I called your phone and got your voicemail with your son, which is adorable, or your daughter. I can't remember which one it was, but just absolutely adorable.
My son, yeah.
And he's talking about Ready List Sports. And so just explain to me quickly, this is an interactive playbook, but it's good for all different types of learning. How is that?
Definitely. The concept was born from a friend of mine who he played at Colorado School of Mines. He was a player of the year, Harlan Hill Trophy winner, quarterback, an amazing kid. Played 2 sports at Colorado School of Mines for 3 years. Till his senior year, he just focused on football. So just a brilliant kid, photographic memory, smart as hell, engineer, way smarter than me. So he came to me right at the time when I was just wondering what the hell I'm going to do next with this idea and the concept. And it was a 300-page PowerPoint presentation about a better way to learn a playbook, utilizing multiple learning styles. Because even still today, they just give you the information. They provide you with video, with instruction, with breakdown of the plays, but there's no real way to ensure that these guys are going home and taking the time to learn it in the correct way. However you study is how you study. And so when I met him in 2005, he went on to 9 teams in 7 years trying to make it, but he would struggle to learn that big, thick playbook. And this is a kid, like I said, an engineer at a Colorado School of Mines with a photographic memory. He's thinking to himself, if I'm struggling, then most everybody on this team is struggling to learn this offense. So he came up with the concept, kind of similar to the Rosetta Stone for learning a foreign language.
Mm-hmm.
Football is just terminology, right? It's all nomenclature. It's what I call a slant on one offense is called a dragon on one offense, or called something else. An in route is a curl, is a hook. It's all just terminology. So like the Rosetta Stone, he found a better way to make learning more efficient. And that's what we've now developed through a couple different iterations, a couple betas, a couple different companies trying to learn how to program this thing correctly. We've got a company out of Colorado Springs that has done it. And we've got, it's in an app format. So your kids, whether they're 7, 8, 9, 10, up to like professional leagues, all the way, 5-on-5, all the way through 11-on-11. We've got all the bases covered. If you're a brand new coach to the game and you have no idea how to formulate an offense, our program comes preloaded with all of the most common football plays in the game. We have offense and defense now. Special teams is being developed. And also what's being developed is the ability to embed video and then also voice recognition, so that quarterbacks can say the play, players can talk and be quizzed in another form of learning. So that's where we're at. We've come a long ways. We're still fighting against the habitual coaches that like to do it a certain way, but coaches, as they get older, the younger kids that come in, they're learning through screens. They're learning remotely. They're learning by touching a pad of a screen, not writing on a pad of paper. So we've developed what is the future of learning. It's just now finding those coaches to buy in. A coach like Adam Gase with the New York Jets, Cliff Kingsbury used it in Arizona with Kyler Murray prior to last season. Right at the very beginning of camp, they used it a bunch to help them learn in a fast, efficient way. So we're on the cusp of something big, and now it's just a matter of getting coaches to use it, players to use it, and then we'll see where that goes. As for me as a tech entrepreneur with no background in school for that, but more or less just being a quarterback and knowing how to run a team and manage things and to trust your instincts. It's given me the ability to dive into this and make some good headway, make some progress, and hopefully provide a tool that's going to help alleviate the stress of learning the game. Like I said earlier, the Peyton Manning effect, where the game has trickled down into the lower levels. We're asking 12, 13-year-olds to think at a high level and to go into a game and process things at a high level when they're being coached by a coach that's not a Mike Shanahan, but he's a guy that teaches history and now coaches the offense for such and such high school in some small town. We're trying to provide a tool that helps them to give to their kids to learn the game and alleviate the stress, to go out, play fast, play free, and we think play a little more safer and have fun while you're out there.
Ready List Sports is the name of the company. Jake Plummer's a co-founder. Where can you find that? Is there a website?
Yeah, readylistsports.com. And like I said, go there. Any coach that's interested, there's some demo videos. You can sign up for a more in-depth demo. We're all about customer service right now, building our client base, because it's small, but it's growing steadily in a lot of high schools, a lot of regions around the U.S. We're in hot pursuit of a couple NFL teams, close to signing a couple NFL teams and a couple big-time college programs. But otherwise, we're just, like I said, getting through this COVID moment and this time that we've been in. People are realizing there's got to be a better way to reach your players for them to learn, and we've developed it. We've got what it takes. We've got the program you need. So the more coaches that buy in, the better for us. And we appreciate the plug there, Dana. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, Jake. I appreciate the time, man. It was really a pleasure. I loved watching you when you played. I love hearing about your success in the post-playing career, and obviously have a lot in common with you with the kids and the being a family man now. And I wish the best to you. And just promise me this, Jake. When I do get up to Coeur d'Alene at some point and play on those pickleball courts in Hayden, you're going to come out there and we're going to have a beer and play a little pickle.
Let's do it, man. That or golf or anything, man. I'm down for whatever. I even got a skateboard recently, so I'm trying to learn something new and not break my wrist doing it. But just anything, man. I'm down for some fun, and I appreciate you too. Congrats on all you've done and finding something to do here post career is always a challenge. But thanks for having me on the show, man. I really appreciate you reaching out.
Absolutely, Jake. Take it easy, brother.
All right, you have a good one, Dan.